wanted to talk a little bit about judgments because for me, I've already said that I am not a religious person. I don't subscribe to man-made religions, but I am a Bible believer. I sit down and I read the Bible myself and take in the information for it, study it, because no matter who you may be following, no matter who you may be listening to, the best way to understand anything is to put some time into it yourself, is to sit down and put the effort in yourself. And I have listened to so many different people say so many different things, and everything got cleared up from me simply sitting down and reading for myself. But a lot of people are saying, the Bible's not real. This is the white man's book, that it has been tampered with. I do agree it's been tampered with, but why do you believe in something Europeans gave you? This is something that they produced. And I say, you have to sit down and read it to understand. If someone made something specifically for their benefit, they would never then turn around and put something in there that will damn them or make them look bad. That's not the way this group of people have always operated. Once they do something, it's always to their benefit. So this is not a European book or the white man's book. But if you take a look, you can see that things have been going on for a very long time as far as judgment. We just have not heard about it until now. Even now, certain things that would seem normal are not normal by any measure. There are so many different natural disasters people have no explanation for. And there are so many records that have been broken by some of these events that have been happening. And the first event that I want to talk about is the 3 hours of darkness in Russia, and that's in Siberia, because they were in the period around this month. There is 24/7 daylight. So there is no nighttime. And this event that happened, people were speculating. A lot of people have thrown out that this has to do with the military. They said that this could have been an eclipse they didn't know about. People have stated that this could be from the fires, but the fires would have to be close, and they're not. Everybody has been throwing all kinds of information out there, but still nobody can account for the events that happened this day on July 20th, 2018, and that was on Friday. It says here, Friday, July 20th, that a bizarre darkness fell on Siberia between 11:30 a.m. and 2:00 p.m. local time. There were several news outlets that reported on this, and it was in the Siberian Times. And there were residents that said that they couldn't see anything without switching on a light. They took torches outside to walk around to see what was going on, to see if they could find out what was causing this. But they said nobody wanted to go outside and be on the street because it felt like something heavy was in the air pressing on your chest. And one eyewitness said that it looked like a strong thunderstorm coming. The air went dark and got darker and darker. But this time, unlike anything else we've seen before, the darkness had a yellow undertone. It was very unusual. And the assumptions was it smoke from the wildfires, blotting out the sun completely. Some people said they saw a flash of light, and it registered on the U.S. satellites. And followed by that was an increase of radioactive levels and unusual activity of the military. So people are saying this could be some type of weapon that was used or tested. And they stated that officials contradicted what residents said, that there was a thick layer of dust after the cloud and darkness vanished. They said there was no dust. But people who've lived there for many years say they have never, ever witnessed anything like this before. They said the darkness was pitch black. It didn't come all at once, but it was gradual. And the sun was completely gone from 11:30 a.m. till 2 p.m. Local officials said there was no rain, no dust, no smoke, and there was no sharp air temperature drop in the region during the event. But the temperature did fall. It did cool some. A resident said that it was as if the day has gone overcast, as if the sun was covered with a cloud, or not a cloud, but there was no rain. We didn't know what had happened. We thought the stories about no sun were rumors, but then we realized that they were not. We are also trying to guess as to what could have possibly happened. There is still no official explanation of this phenomenon from meteorologists, defense, or deferral officials. In going over to Japan, there was 77 people that have been killed by the scorching heat and tens of thousands that have been hospitalized. It says 77 people have died and 30,000 have been sent to the hospitals across Japan as a heat wave sweeps through the country. The temperatures reached 105.8 degrees Fahrenheit on Monday. It's an all-time record in Japan. And Japan meteorologists warn temperatures are a threat to life. And they said the heat wave has persisted, and torrential rains, which have triggered landslides and heavy flooding in western Japan this month. It's been recognized as a natural disaster. When you have 30,000 people falling out from the heat, that is not something that you usually hear. That is not common. That's not something that I've heard in my lifetime happening. But beside the 30,000 people who were hospitalized and the 77 people who have died, there has been 200 people that have been killed in the landslides in Japan as well. And this is the highest death toll caused by rainfall in decades. This would pass people by because it's nature. They feel like, it always rains, but things like this is not normal. And if you do actually sit down and read the Bible, some of these things that you see happening, it was prophesied to happen. And we're seeing this impact the entire world. Things happening across the world. Here in Laos, there was a dam that collapsed. 16,000 people were affected. More than 6,000 people were made homeless. At least 20 to 30 people were killed. And there are so many more that's missing. The flood waters wiped out an entire village and washed away roads, bridges, homes, and crops and irrigation system. So this is an absolute disaster. And it said that the Lao government has ordered an inquiry into what caused the collapse of the dam, if there was anything with the structure or how the dam was constructed. and that they are going to compensate the people. I mean, I don't think there's any level of compensation that you can give to get back what these people lost, but to just have your whole life just wiped out within minutes. And coming back over here to America, everybody knows about the deadly California fires. This is something that is to be expected during this season, but it has been horrific. Seems like every time that there is a fire in California, it is devastating. I don't understand how people can go back to that, knowing there's a chance that it could happen again. Gusty weekend winds expect to fan deadly California fires. And it says this weekend, firefighters across the state battling blazes include the Carr Fire in Shasta County and the Ferguson Fire near Yosemite National Park used bulldozers and hand tools to widen containment lines and strengthen weak spots in preparation for winds that could shift directions and push the fire toward populated areas. If it's going to go there, there is nothing that these firefighters can do to stop it. But continuing, it's not just the largest fire commanding resources. There are 16 large wildfires burning throughout California. Basically, California is burning, ranging from 35 to almost 132 acres. More than 14,000 firefighters from around the state and country are working to contain these fires, which have scorched over 410,000 acres and displaced 40,000 residents. The Carr Fire, the largest of those blazes, grew to 133,924 acres and was 39% contained. As of Friday evening, the massive blaze has killed 6 people and destroyed 1,567 structures when it sped through the city of Redding and surrounding areas, becoming the 6th most destructive and 13th deadliest wildfire recorded in California history. A red flag warning took effect in Shasta County on Thursday night, and officials expect strong winds from the west and north to continue through Saturday night. Gusts up to 30 miles per hour, National Weather Service meteorologist Tom Dang said temperatures are expected to be slightly cooler over the weekend, possibly dipping into the 80s, but humidity will stay low and the air quality will continue to suffer. Evacuation orders are still in place for thousands of residents in the Carr Fire burn area. A local assistance center has been set up at Shasta High School for evacuees who have lost their homes to receive services including housing, mental health, cleanup, and DMV help. I could go into the irony of needing housing, basically losing everything and needing housing, mental help, and help to start over. But I'll continue. And there are 2 large fires that have been burning since last week. The River Fire and the Ranch Fire grew quickly to the east and southeast to 115,250 acres and was 28% contained Friday evening, and the River Fire to the south was 42,200 acres and 50% contained. The Ranch Fire was moved into an area that previously burned in June during Pawnee Fire. Fire officials said that was a good sign. But on Thursday night, the winds threatened to push the fire south. Officials ordered mandatory evacuation in Lake and Western counties, as well as the National Forest campgrounds. The fire had not reached populated areas as of Friday morning. But it seems like that these fires, some of them are more contained than others, but a lot of them are burning out of control. And it looks like this weekend that the winds are going to pick up and going to push them in a different direction. Just when they thought they saw hope, it could be a whole new disaster that starts up, and the fires could continue burning. Place that I want to take you to is Greece. And I want to remind you of something that happened, which is why it made me want to talk about this, is because if you remember, there was a young man, this young man here. He was in Greece. And I believe that a woman walked up and wanted to talk to him. And she was a Caucasian woman. And he was there with his Caucasian friends. But 9 Grecian men beat him to death, if you remember. They thought it was okay to beat this man to death because a woman came up to him and started flirting with him. It's not like he went up to that woman, but the woman came up to him, but he had to die for it. You know, if this was an ex, or if this person was dealing with that woman, you would think that they would check the woman. And now I'm not saying, beat on a woman or hit a woman, but if you feel like she's being out of line, I would think you would check her. But no, even though she was throwing herself at him or flirting with him, and this was her choice to do so, they decided to kill the man. That is so ass backwards to me. And this young man had a full academic scholarship to the University of Arizona, and he graduated in May. So these thugs decided to kill this young boy because one of their women that they were dealing with decided to flirt with him, which makes this next judgment to me even more significant. And it says here, Greek minister resigns in wake of wildfire that killed 88 people. It says Greece civil protection minister has resigned over the government's response to the wildfires last month that killed 88 people. There has been recriminations over what led to the death of dozens of people in Mati, east of Athens, where hundreds of people were trapped by towering walls of flames while attempting to flee. Many jumped into the sea to survive, but others died, either in their cars when they were trapped on the edge of steep cliffs by the rapid advancing flames. This natural disaster and the loss of so many people overwhelmed my desire to continue. And this is what he spoke about. But the death toll rose to 88 on Friday when a 35-year-old woman died from her injuries. Her 6-month-old baby, the youngest victim, had died in her arms from smoke inhalation as they tried to escape the flames. And there were also other reports of families, men, women, and children who were hugged up with each other because they could not escape the flames, and they basically burned where they were. It was very horrific. There are several articles that tell the horrificness of what has happened. It says cars turned to molten metal as Greek wildfires wipe village off the map. If you look at the satellites, it's nothing but burnt area. So this fire was that hot that there was dried pools of molten aluminum charred on the roads of small villages. Liquid rubber and dripping metal. Stated that 2 twin girls that were 9 years old are missing. An Irish man was on his honeymoon. He was among the dead. This is another fire that was one of the worst to hit the area in decades. And they said basically the village was burned off the map. They could see was dead people, at least 300 burned cars, burned homes. There was no settlement anymore. They had been lost on the map. Entire families were huddled together and they died there together. And they said desperate men, women, and children ran in all directions, but they were surrounded by the fires and trapped in traffic jams. So it was bodies everywhere. And they said just a few steps from a home, there were 26 charred bodies huddled together. So that's the last story concerning the natural disasters that have happened that I do believe are judgments, because these things have not happened in decades. They are setting new records. Some of this stuff is unexplainable, and you can see in the last story about the Greek fire, that was a travesty for what happened to that young man. But that just shows, when people are allowed to do things and things have been going on for so long, that can cause disaster for people around you, your own people. And no, I'm not glorifying in death, but there has been no compassion. There has been no restoration, and it continues to go on the way it has gone on. People around the world have doubled down on their belief systems and continuing this system the way it is. I do believe that, these are judgments that are happening around the world, because they are not something that's ordinary, something that happens all the time. These are very extraordinary events. But I'll go ahead and leave it right there. Let me know what you think. Do you think these are judgments, or do you think that this is just, coincidence or just natural disasters? Let me know what you think. Leave a comment, and I will see you in the next one.